Closing the book on 2020, turning back the pages to remember notable actors, artists, athletes, and leaders whose chapters now pass into history.
With COVID-19 topping worldwide headlines all year, Nigeria was no exception. But in 2020, the headlines kept coming. For Nigerians, it was a year filled with notable events. Today, we'll put them into context. Hello and thanks for tuning into the show that goes around the continent to bring stories near and far. I'm Chamberlain Uso at Channels Television here in Lagos. I'm joined by Vincent McCory from Voice of America in Washington.
Thanks, I'm Vincent McCory. Happy to be with you again for another edition of Africa 54. Due to the global outbreak of COVID-19, the Voice of America has reduced staffing at VOA headquarters in Washington. So, as you see, our broadcast looks a little different for now. We appreciate you staying with us on Africa 54. Let's start off with the latest from Nigeria. Chamberlain Uso in Lagos brings you that story.
Most times, when people think of the year 2020, what usually comes to mind is the COVID-19 pandemic. However, there are other notable events which shaped the year for Nigeria. Our correspondent, Temitope Fagbemi, takes a look at some of them.
In most parts of Nigeria, the year 2020 began like this. Christians gathered in churches to usher in the new year with prayers and thanksgiving while hoping for a fruitful and prosperous new year. A month later, the dreaded coronavirus is in Nigeria, brought in by an Italian citizen who returned from Milan to Lagos on the 25th of February and was identified as the index case. By the end of March, Lagos and Ogun States and the Federal Capital Territory Abuja are on total lockdown.
I am directing the cessation of all movements in Lagos and the FCT.
For about 6 months, businesses, religious houses, recreation centers and large gatherings were put on hold, severely affecting individuals, families and the economy. Yet the numbers kept rising, and so did the death toll. Prominent figures like the President's Chief of Staff, Abba Kyari, and former Governor of Oyo State, Abiola Ajimobi, fell victim to the virus.
Solidarity forever.
In March 2020, the Academic Staff Union of Nigeria, ASU, began a strike action over demands for more funding for public universities and renegotiation of the 2009 FG-ASU agreement. After 9 months of continuous negotiations with the federal government, the strike was finally called off with conditions in December 2020. Several months later, activists, youths and celebrities thronged major Nigerian cities to demand an end to police brutality, especially for the disbanding of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad SARS. Solidarity NSAS protests and demonstrations by Nigerians in diaspora and sympathizers also occurred in many major cities of the world. Within a few days of renewed protest, on October 11, 2020, the Nigerian Police Force announced that it was dissolving the unit with immediate effect. However, it was noted in many quarters that similar announcements had been made in recent years to pacify the public without the unit actually being disbanded. Undeterred, protesters continue to demonstrate, blocking major roads and highways and dealing a major blow to the country's economy. But the protest took a deadly turn when prisoners escaped from a prison in Edo State, forcing the state governor to impose a curfew. An attempted prison break in Ikoyi, Lagos State, and a deadly attack on a police station at Orile Igomu in Lagos also saw the state government declaring a curfew. Then, the mysterious shooting at the Lekki toll gate on the 20th of October 2020, which is currently being investigated by the Lagos Panel of Judicial Inquiry. Sadly, the peaceful NSAS protest degenerated into violence, arson and looting, with several government warehouses housing COVID-19 palliatives pilfered. Amidst all this, the economy suffered as inflation rose and the cost of housing, food and petrol skyrocketed. A month later, November 2020, Nigeria was officially in recession.
Inflation continued to be driven by supply-side disruptions arising from COVID-19 pandemic and other legacy factors.
A tough year indeed, but in the entertainment sector, the Ikorodu boys have cause to smile. The creative Sani brothers were famous for remaking multi-million-dollar music videos and movie trailers with household items got an invite to the premiere of Netflix movie Extraction 2 in Hollywood. Since creating their Instagram page in 2017, the Ikorodu boys have amassed more than 600,000 followers. Some of their contents have gone viral, and they've gotten kudos from big stars, including actor Will Smith. Temitope Fagbemi reporting for Channels Television News.
Let's get more on the year in review from the Director General of Bolitac Center for International Diplomacy and Strategic Studies, Professor Bola Akintarewa. Thank you for joining us today on the program. How would you assess Nigeria's How would you assess Nigeria's performance at home and abroad in the year 2020? What did we get right and what did we get wrong?
In terms of positive aspects, at least we have 5 or 6 areas on which we can place emphasis. The first is that in 2020, there were many cases of stranded Nigerians, and the federal government did well by quickly evacuating them, not giving room for any excuses. I think this is noteworthy. The delay in signing the AFCTA, the Continental Free Trade Agreement, is also positive in the sense that for the first time, government considered national interest. Thirdly, you mentioned COVID-19. The handling has been very good because it gave the international community to know that the government of Nigeria has capacity and the capability to manage its medical challenges. Fourthly, in many countries of the world, we discover that Nigerians individually are making progress, and this shapes Nigeria's international image. Noteworthy are the cases of Akinwumi of the African Development Bank and Okonjo-Iweala. And we cannot also forget the fact that the UNPO, not the United Nations organization, but the unrepresented nations and people's organization. The Yoruba Congress, World Congress, the MASOB, they registered as members. But beyond these considerations, I want to believe that we have more challenges which outweigh the positive aspects that I've just raised.
All right.
The first one is the deepening national insecurity. It's a disaster. It has damaged the international image of Nigeria in many, many ways. Take another issue: mistreatment of Nigerians in China and elsewhere. Emphasis is always placed on the fact that Nigerians might have misbehaved. But it's not always true. The issue of the government itself is a reason for people trying to mistreat Nigerians abroad. So all these rhetorical reactions to Ghana's violation of Nigeria's diplomatic principles is one of it.
That's quite a lot in there to dissect, but we do thank you very much indeed for joining us today on Africa 54.
Thank you very much for having me.
Welcome back to Africa 54. I'm Vincent Makori in Washington. After 4 years of President Donald Trump's America First foreign policy, which cut the number of U.S. troops deployed overseas and called on allies to pay more for their defense, Americans are waiting to see what military policy will look like under President-elect Joe Biden. VOA Pentagon correspondent Carla Babb reports.
President-elect Joe Biden says he will shift away from the America First mantra that has defined President Donald Trump's administration.
America's back.
And favor alliances with traditional allies, such as NATO. Trump said NATO allies have abused the United States' generosity, especially wealthy nations like Germany. He ordered a reduction of nearly 12,000 U.S. troops from bases there.
The United States has been taken advantage of for 25 years, both on trade and on the military.
Biden will likely reverse that move, experts say, while taking a cooler approach than Trump has taken to communications with Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un.
Days of cozying up to dictators is over.
Reducing large-scale U.S.-South Korea military exercises so Pyongyang would stop testing long-range missiles.
I think that is a very good deal for the United States because the benefits of having North Korea no longer able to test, I think, are much greater than the costs.
While it is unclear whether Biden will continue to cut these large-scale exercises, experts say Biden's initial focus will be on strengthening the U.S.-South Korea relationship. After nearly 2 decades fighting terrorism alongside numerous global allies in Iraq and Afghanistan, President-elect Joe Biden has supported similar U.S. troop reductions to those President Trump is currently executing in these countries. However, in Syria, while Trump tried a complete withdrawal twice, Biden has said these withdrawals were equivalent to the U.S. breaking its word and turning its back on its Kurdish-led allies fighting Islamic State there. Carla Babb, VOA News, Washington.
14-year-old Nigerian Emmanuel Agorioge makes his own robots by using recycled cardboards. The creative teenager, who is an art lover, started out at the age of 9, getting most of his inspiration online. Let's take a look at how Emmanuel brings his designs to life.
I'm Agorioge Emmanuel. I attend ABJ school. I'm 14 years and I am the eldest son of 4.
Creative teenager Emmanuel Agorioge is using recycled cardboard boxes to make his own robots. With drawing and painting as part of his hobbies, Emmanuel leverages his skills to make his artworks. 14-year-old Emmanuel started out being creative with cardboards 5 years ago when he was just 9 years old. He says he gets his ideas from the internet by looking out for trends online. He also gets his inspiration from comic books and sometimes self-imagination.
I build characters like robots. I used carton, gum, and super glue to make these robots.
Solely using cardboard, scissors, glue, and some other easily accessible materials, the teenager spends his leisure time developing his self-taught skills, sometimes with the help of his siblings. For Emmanuel, having a school to support other teenagers with skills like his will be a dream come true.
If I achieve my aim in future and what I want to become, I would like to build schools where young talent like me can improve on their skills.
Popular Nigerian robotics engineer Silas Adekunle is a role model to Emmanuel. With the help of his supportive parents, Emmanuel Agorioge would also like to become one so he can bring his designs to life.
It's time now for a short break. We'd like to remind you to visit our website, channelstv.com, for news and programming around the clock. You can also find us at youtube.com/channelsweb. Still to come, after a year of harsh realities, meet a young man inspiring hope and resilience, Abdulrahman Tarek.
Welcome back to Africa 54. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. Mali, known for its music and cultural events, attracted artists from across West Africa to the annual Slam Poetry Festival. Annie Riesenberg followed one young Malian poet who is bucking stereotypes in the conservative nation in this report from Bamako.
Aisha Diarra first learned of slam poetry when her high school held a competition. Now, she's been a slam poet since 2015 and takes part in Mali's annual Slam Poetry Festival. The poets, like Diarra, perform spoken word poetry in front of an audience and judges. She sees her art as a form of activism, meant to highlight the lives of Malian women and girls.
The subjects that I talk about, often people think that they're too bold. When I talk about circumcision of young girls, it's generally a taboo subject in Africa.
Slam poetry is a relatively new music scene in Mali. A country with deep musical and oral traditions, Mali is regarded as a musical crossroads in Africa. Slam first appeared in Mali in 2006, years after it gained popularity in the United States.
The slam poets, for us, they are full-fledged musicians. We accept them as being musicians.
This year, the festival was held in November, months later than usual, due to the coronavirus and a curfew imposed after a coup d'etat in August. Diarra performed on stage for the first time in nearly a year. The annual festival is run by a Malian organization called Aggregatoire, founded by one of Mali's first slam poets, Aziz Kone.
As you know, everyone knows it. Since 2012, Mali has been weakened by a security crisis, by a social crisis. So we saw that it's important for us today to hold this festival in the name of peace and social cohesion.
This year saw Mali struggling with both regional instability and a worldwide pandemic, which left cultural activities in the normally lively music scene in shambles. But slam poetry continues to attract young Malians committed to a better future for their country. Annie Riesenberg for VOA News, Bamako, Mali.
An Egyptian 11-year-old cancer patient, Abdurrahman Tarek, keeps his spirits high as he battles the harsh illness by practicing traditional Tanura dancing. Take a look and possibly a cue from him.
Abdurrahman Tarek was first diagnosed with cancer when he was only 20 months old, and his future seemed a harsh and painful one. Now, almost 10 years later, the recovering 11-year-old is taken to Tanura dancing to keep his spirits high.
Before learning Tanura, I would sleep all the time. I would not move at all. I did not have any purpose. When I learned Tanura, I had a purpose that I'm now moving towards.
The young sixth grader is originally from Tanta, north of Cairo. He took to Tanura dancing at a very young age, but was only able to truly dance after stopping chemotherapy and radioactive therapy a year ago. Although his cancer is gone, it might return as he continues to struggle with body aches, muscle pain, fever, and overall weakness.
I will resist. I will not stop. I will spin with Tanura. I don't care about the pain. The pain doesn't matter to me. What matters is that I beat the pain and that the pain doesn't beat me.
Tarek's dancing was one of the few things that brought back meaning to his life. Tarek takes Tanura and acting lessons offered free of charge by a director working at a small theatre in central Cairo. He hopes to be able to study and practice the traditional dance professionally. Tanura is a dance that is very popular in Egypt, where the dancer wears long, colorful skirts and fez-like hats. The skirts are traditionally made of wool, in which dancers whirl for hours around a fixed position.
Some made us dream with movies, others made us dance and filled our hearts with music. Others influenced our lives with their writing and designs. VOA correspondent Memoriam reports on some of the people we lost in 2020.
Among the movie actors lost in 2020, Sean Connery, who died at 90. The charismatic Scottish movie legend shot to international stardom playing the first James Bond.
Ladies and gentlemen!
Chadwick Boseman, another superstar, also passed away. He was 43 and was best known for his title role in Black Panther. The list also includes veteran Bollywood actor and one of India's most well-known exports to Hollywood, Irfan Khan. Two-time Oscar winner and Gone with the Wind movie star Olivia de Havilland died this year at 104. She was one of the last surviving cast members of the classic 1939 film.
Gone with the Wind was the happiest experience of my entire career.
Lost from the music world,
rock and roll is alive forever.
Rock and Roll Hall of Famers Little Richard and Bill Withers,
I remember
Grammy winners John Prine,
things I can't forget.
and Kenny Rogers. An actor-singer, Rogers preferred to be known as a country singer despite his crossover music success.
I think country music is the white man's rhythm and blues. It's where the pain is.
Manu Dibango, who fused African rhythms with funk, died at 86. The Cameroon-born saxophonist was also known for his effervescent personality.
Manu
Dibango's symphonic laughter. He wouldn't say a sentence without bursting out laughing. He was a man at his age of an inalienable youth, unalterable, and always positive.
The sudden death of basketball legend Kobe Bryant and his 13-year-old daughter in a helicopter crash shocked the world in 2020, prompting an outpouring of grief. Another sudden loss felt around the world, Argentine soccer giant Diego Armando Maradona, who suffered a heart attack.
Ruffled-haired, funky, devil-may-care type of individual, fun-loving, who is just effortlessly brilliant. And that's why he was called El Pibe de Oro, the Golden Boy.
Franco-Japanese fashion designer Kenzo Takada died in 2020. He was known for his jungle-infused designs and free-spirited aesthetic. 3 former presidents also died in 2020. Former presidents of Ghana, Jerry Rawlings, of Mali, Amadou Toumani Touré, and most recently, France's Valéry Giscard d'Estaing. Other public figures, U.S. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a legal and feminist icon, died at 87.
We must say, wake up, America, wake up! We're going to continue to fight.
A pioneer of the civil rights movement, John Lewis, died in 2020 after serving more than 3 decades in the House of Representatives.
We have made some progress. We've come a distance, but we still have a distance to go. We still have roads to travel.
And George Floyd, a black man whose death in police custody
begging for his life
sparked an uproar against racial injustice in the U.S. and around the world, was among those the world lost this year. But 2020 will also be remembered for COVID-19, which caused hundreds of thousands of people to perish as the pandemic swept across the world, shattering economies and lives. As the year drew to a close, more than 68 million people were infected worldwide and more than 1.5 million died from the illness. Mariama Diallo, VOA News, Washington.
And that's our show for today. You can find all the continent's top news and world news online at voaafrica.com. Check it out. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. Channels Television has our last word from Lagos.
We look forward to bringing you another show next week. Remember, channelstv.com is your source for news and other programming. I'm Chamberlain, so thank you for watching. Goodbye.